Race car. I can't even describe it. Good morning, you absolute lovelies. Welcome back to the R32 level 27, absolutely confirmed. I'm still kind of getting used to the car and the gearbox, but I've driven it for about an hour now in total, a couple of hours. And yeah, starting to kind of get my head around the car, or Mr. John's starting to get his head around the car. I will stop off at some point though today and kind of open up the open the bonnet, open the hood, and show you guys the magic that awaits. I've been keeping an eye on all of the temperatures and all the pressures as well. Everything seems to sort of be in order, which is cool. It's also got an exhaust gas temperature, which is really useful. Basically, when you get very hot exhaust gases or overly hot exhaust gases, it's either you're running too lean or sometimes you're running too rich as well. But it is quite a good idea to have an exhaust gas temperature gauge. When you get to around sort of 900 degrees Celsius, anything over that, it is starting to get pretty hot and you might have an issue somewhere. So yeah, definitely a good idea to get an exhaust gas temperature gauge if you haven't got one. All right, get her into gear. Sometimes as well, when you're in neutral and you want to go into first, you kind of have to double clutch just to get her in gear. The only thing I did notice yesterday, I got into the Volvo and I started kind of thumping my gear, thinking, what am I doing? I'm not in the Skyline. But kind of my muscle memory had kind of taken over. So I do kind of need to remember when I'm driving different cars just to be a little bit more delicate with the old synchromesh gearboxes. Moving off as well, you've got to go to about sort of really about 5 grand. You do get a little bit of noise from the clutches, which is expected because it's got a twin plate clutch. But yeah, you can kind of drive it, relatively speaking, quite easily as long as you kind of pick the revs up when you're moving off. It's also got aftermarket front and rear differentials as well. They are a little bit sort of knocky when you're on full lock, which is to be expected with aftermarket LSDs. But it does put the power down very well, this car. It is a little bit squiggly, I noticed. We're going to get it on a ramp next Wednesday and look underneath it. We're thinking maybe some subframe bushes or something need doing. Obviously we've got Jamie K, Strong Flex UK on hand to give us lots of bushes. So we'll have a proper little gander under the car next week. Anyhow, I've done enough gassing, I'll chuck it into first. Race car. Like I mentioned in the last video, she's running Apexy N1 coilovers, which is a track orientated coilover. They are quite expensive and they are pretty decent to drive on the road, to be fair. I mean, they're quite stiff, but you don't get a lot of bouncing and it does kind of take up some of the ruts pretty well. So yeah, big fan of the suspension. First gear on this HICAS Hollinger gearbox is also really, really long, so you can kind of leave it in first for quite a bit. Obviously this car does have a lot of power and you probably do get to second very quickly with a conventional gearbox. So it is quite nice just to have that longer gear. She's quite loud as well. It's still got a sports cat in place, so it still has a catalytic converter, which is quite nice. Like I sort of said before, I was going to consider maybe getting a D-cap, but I think the car's going to be so loud. We might get a few extra ponies, obviously, but I do think the car's going to be massively loud. So we'll kind of see how we go over time, and we can always do a little upgrade later on. It's not actually overly loud in the interior as well. You've still got things like the door cards, right, geezer? You've still got all the carpets. The only thing that has actually been removed is all the rear interior and the trims as well. As you can tell, John has kind of got used to the gearbox now. It does give very seamless changes. The idea with these gearboxes is you can change them so quickly, it kind of combats the lag of the turbo. Obviously it's got a T88, it's a very big turbo. And with a conventional gearbox, you really need to be a little bit slower and you have to let off the gas a lot more, which kind of takes time to re-spool the turbo back up. With this, you can slam it in gear so quickly, you've already eliminated that lag because you're kind of back on the throttle already. So it does make for a really quick sort of lag-free gear change. We'll do wide open throttle. This is 5,000 RPM, second gear. Mate, this car, I can't even describe it. it is literally next level. I would like a little bit more horsepower. You probably think I'm absolutely insane. Even with sort of 650, it was mapped at 1.5 bars, 654 horsepower it made on the dyno. I do think you could probably squeeze a little bit more out with a map sensor and a slightly different ECU. Needless to say, even at its current power levels, it is pretty goddamn quick, this thing. What about things like the wheels? Wheels are lovely, they're TE37 volts. I maybe might try my raise from my S15 on here just to see what they look like. And I was possibly considering doing the wheels black. But again, the white is grown on me a little bit as well. Another little idea I had was maybe painting these spoiler mounts black because they're silver. Maybe the black would kind of blend a little bit more. That's why I was maybe thinking about doing the wheels black as well. We can kind of leave it as it is. I'll possibly look to get some nice black brides in here as well, just to kind of tone the interior down a little bit. Maybe getting a Keys Racing steering wheel, like a 330 deep dish buckskin. It's also got a fuel pressure gauge down here on the floor, and things like the light is hanging down a little bit. Like I said, they're only really sort of minor discrepancies. This car is 30 years old, and it's safe to say you won't find another one like this. But there might be one out there with low miles, but this car is in exceptional condition. Definitely get a lot of looks in this car. Maybe for some people for the wrong reasons. They probably think, who's this idiot making all this noise with that massive wing on the back? Little do they know that this is an absolute monster time attack car. There's that lovely smell about this car as well. It just smells like classic, like 1990s Japanese car. You got that lovely petrol smell as well.
A few moments later.
Look at that beauty, man. Coming back to this definitely makes you smile. Just got myself a little bit of coffee and a little cheeky panini. Gonna quickly eat this, and I'll do a quick little walk around of the car, show you a few little bits and bobs. Like I said, I will do the proper one in a few days time.
5 minutes later.
Brakes are phenomenal. They're really good, which is what you would probably expect on a near-on 700 horsepower car. Ready 4 pots to the back. Front ones are actually a 6 pot. Lots of little text modified stickers all over the car, just to kind of give you a little hint on who made all this goodness. Inside the glove box, we've got a cheeky little stereo. I'm going to upgrade that as well because that's quite an old school one. I'll try and get something with like an auxiliary input or Bluetooth or something. And that's the electronic valve timing controller. Adjustable brake bias. You can kind of change the brake balance from the front to the rear of the car. Electronic boost controller up here from HICAS. That's your commander, which is the piece like the sort of display unit for the Apexy Power FC ECU. All the heater controls have actually been relocated into here. I haven't actually had the heaters on yet because it's been pretty warm. And I believe that's the little, like the toll card thing that they had in Japan. It does speak Japanese to you, this car. 56,000 original kilometers, so yeah, just over 40,000 miles. It's safe to say this car has done really very, very low mileage, hence it's still in lovely condition. And the dashboard as well, R32s are quite famous for having sort of cracked, bad dashes over time, and this one is absolutely mint, so kind of does back up with the mileage. Turbo timer down here, so when you turn the ignition on, you'll see that it kicks in the turbo timer. And if the car's already kind of cooled down, you can just press this button here and turn it off. Pretty neat on the back. You've got another little text modify sticker, and you've got these nice little boot catches just to make sure the boot stays shut. That one's not on there. Very sensible. There we go. And there we have one beautiful RB26. Obviously the R32 did come with an RB26 originally, and this is actually the slightly updated one, or the later one from the R34. It's an original N1 block. That's the V-cam that I was mentioning earlier. That's the little controller that you've got inside the glove box. Stock intake manifold. I do think these were kind of designed with a lot of power in mind, so they're not very restrictive. Let me know in the comment section as well if I'm getting anything wrong. I'll sort of try my best as I go around it. You've got what looks to be a fuel pressure regulator down here. We've got various sort of larger breathing hoses and breathers all over the place. Looks to have a custom radiator as well. We've got a lovely front mounted intercooler down here, which has kind of all been cut into the bumper. There's also an oil cooler hiding in there as well somewhere. You've got Blitz, SUS air filters, like I said, MAF sensors. I think these are RB25 MAF sensors. Once we get the ECU master on there, we can kind of get rid of all of this, and we will get slightly better turbo sounds as well. This does kind of give that sort of slight whistling sound when you put your foot down. Once you get rid of the mass and all these little restrictions, it will sound a lot more crisp. T88 is absolutely massive. It's got a huge compressor housing, huge exhaust housing as well, lots of heat wrap. I may speak to Zerkatech at some point and get rid of this and maybe do some ceramic coating just to try and optimize the efficiency, but for now, certainly doing the job. If you look here, it kind of looks like this vent doesn't go anywhere, but they've actually just put a piece of aluminium over it, I guess, to kind of sort of block water coming in. Obviously when you do a track day or you're doing some spirited driving, you can kind of remove that and allow some of those exhaust temps to escape. Original Volt TE37s in white. We are starting to get a little bit of brake dust now. I think you can tell John's been driving it. Wheels do look lovely. Tyres, if you look closely, are Yokohama AD08. Size on the front is 265 35 18, so quite a big size. I think that's the same as the front tyre I had on my BMW. On the back, exactly the same, 265 35 18, so it's a full square setup. Titanium truss exhaust, which actually mounts up to a sports cat underneath, but that's a full titanium catback exhaust, so super light. Obviously the quintessential classic quad rear lights. I've always been a massive fan of these rear ends. Feel free to let me know in the comments section what kind of content you'd like to see. Obviously we will do some track days and stuff once we've been released from prison. If you want to kind of see 0 to 60 times, or maybe a drive up to London, or we can do some maybe some reaction videos with Scousey and the boys. Yeah, if you've got any ideas on contents you want to see, feel free to let us know below. Oh, lovely looking Ferrari 360. Jesus, man. Shoot back up the farm now. I've got to do a little bit of editing and some packing like I mentioned earlier, just try and get these last tickets out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the second little episode. Don't be afraid to put any comments down below if you want to see any particular content with the car. Make sure you give the video a like and please subscribe as well. I checked the other day and 60% of you guys that watch my videos aren't actually subscribers. Only 40% of you are subscribed, so if you could just hit that little subscribe button, it does make a massive difference to my channel, so that would be really appreciated. As always, I love you guys very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the third episode. Peace.